The second issue of the Darth Vader 2020 comic series is here. Issue 1 of the Darth Vader comic left us on a massive cliffhanger. Who was the mysterious figure in the white with a strong resemblance to Padme? Was it simply a trick of Vader's mind, or is it the sister of Padme from the Revenge of the Sith deleted scenes? Today we're going to explore issue 2 of the 2020 Darth Vader comic and uncover the true identity of the woman from the last issue. Before we dive deep into the second 2020 Darth Vader comic, remember to smash the subscribe button and leave a like on the video, as I'll be releasing one of these every time a new issue of the comic drops. So let's get straight into it. After failing to turn Luke Skywalker to the dark side in the previous issue of the comic and The Empire Strikes Back, Vader has taken a squad of Death Troopers and Imperial forensics droid Z-67 on a quest of revenge against everyone who hid his son Luke Skywalker from him. The end of the last issue leaves us at the same point we are in the beginning of this issue. Vader enters a deep emotional memory of his past, dwelling on his time in the Jedi Order and his secret relationship with Padme. Vader is quickly snapped out of his flashback by the woman in the white from the last issue. She quickly draws her rifle and blasts a shot at Vader, who rapidly blocks it. Vader then proceeds to force pull the weapon out of the hands of the frightened woman before demanding that she reveal her identity. Vader menacingly approached her more closely. She apathetically told Vader that she was Padme Amidala. As she uttered those words, further flashbacks were triggered within Vader of Padme's time as Queen, Senator and daughter of Naboo. His flashbacks ultimately culminated on Mustafar, where Padme was choked by Anakin Skywalker after Obi-Wan had snuck aboard her ship to follow him. Just as Vader had done all those years ago on Mustafar, he force-choked the woman standing in front of him, triggering further incredibly painful visions from that moment. The woman gracefully falls to the floor just as Padme had done on Mustafar. As Vader strided forward to follow the mysterious woman, he was grabbed by a tentacled beast constricting his body and tightly gripping his arms. Vader's immense power in the Force, however, allowed him to quickly break free from the beast's grip, slicing its tentacles into pieces. Z-67 helpfully informs Vader that the Crimson Red Beast is the Venduxa land squid native to the jungle planet. Because the squid's breeding season was currently active on the planet, it was more territorial than usual. Despite no longer being a threat to Vader, he continued to unleash his refined rage, carefully slicing each tentacle and cleanly carving its head into two pieces. Just quickly going off the script, how cool is Vader? For him to do that, that's such a typical Vader thing to do. Following his swift slaughter of the Venduxan land squid, Z-67 sought to put Vader back on track, directing him down a cold, gloomy stone staircase. The walls of the cavern below reverberated after each step, even echoing the artificial breathing of Vader's suit back at him. Vader and Z-67 continued their pursuit of the white-clothed woman, traversing the dimly lit cavern until they finally caught up to her. The woman attempted to escape through a set of bronzed bars at the end of the hallway, but the loud clang of the bars contacting each other shifted the gaze of Vader onto herself. Vader angrily ignited his red blade and extended his arm out with the Force. He lifted her high above the ground with the Force, once again demanding to know who she truly was. Vader carefully returned her to the ground before trying a different approach. He calmly asked her the same question once again, this time mirroring his time as Anakin Skywalker, telling Padme not to be afraid, back on Coruscant. The woman snapped at Vader with a fiery retort. She informed him that she was incredibly angry but did not specify why. This response led to a swift realization within Vader. He turned off his lightsaber and pointed at the woman. His mind was drawn back to his time as a child on Tatooine after the visit from Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn. He finally put the pieces of the puzzle together, determining that this was Padme's handmaiden, who she had swapped roles with for protection during the assassination attempts as a senator. Z-67's analytical circuits quickly came into effect as he cross-referenced his Imperial databank for more information on the history of Padme's handmaidens. He quickly determined that standing before him was Sabe, the Queen's notorious double, just a small amount taller than Padme with a slightly more pronounced jaw. As the droid recounted this information from his databanks, Sabe was quick to point her blaster at him in an attempt to make the droid stop. Vader recalled his visit to Padme's quarters on Coruscant from the last issue, where he discovered that many years prior, Sabe had broken into Padme's quarters in an attempt to find out what really happened to her. He bluntly asked Sabe whether or not she had learned the truth about what happened to her. She was extremely apprehensive to his question, believing that this was Darth Vader's idea of a sick game. She believed the obvious truth was that after the Emperor's hasteful rise to power, he had Padme killed because of her consistent dissent. Z-67 quickly deduced that because Sabe had phrased her statement as a question, she did not in fact know the truth behind Padme's fate. Vader quickly silenced the droid and continued questioning Sabe. He informed her that Padme was not killed by the Emperor but stolen away from him by a traitor to the Empire. Sabe was deeply confused, stating that Padme stood with the Jedi and not the Empire. Vader quickly responded, telling her that Padme would have stood with the Empire had she not been stolen away. Sabe quickly shot down the ridiculous notion, questioning whether Vader had ever really known Padme at all. She was of course unaware of Anakin and Padme's secret relationship and marriage on Naboo. Sabe continued asking questions of Vader, but they were brushed off and ignored. Vader attempted to persuade her to join him in his quest to discover the ones who had hidden his children from him, telling her that she must want revenge on the people that killed Padme. Sabe reluctantly agreed to the offer, but was not given much time to dwell on it as a horde of Venduxan land squids rushed through to the caverns and into their location. Vader valiantly defended Sabe from their attacks as they swiftly made their way up to the surface. Side by side, the pair fought through waves of squid attackers with lightsaber and blaster in hand. Memories of Anakin and Padme's capture on Geonosis flooded back to Vader as he fought the beasts of Venduxa. Parallels to their battle with the arena beasts of Geonosis engulfed Vader's mind as he fought his way through the forest with Sabe. In the eyes of Vader, every move she made was a reflection of Padme and her well-refined combat skills. Vader commended the immense skill shown by Sabe as they exited the cavern and reported to the squad of Death Troopers awaiting their return. Vader had hoped to make an immediate exit from Venduxa with Sabe, but her guilt for her fallen friends forced him to stay and give them a proper burial. Vader obliged and ordered his Death Troopers to help with the construction of several graves for Sabe's fallen allies on the planet. Sadly, the Gungan from the last issue of the Darth Vader comic was killed in the fighting on the surface, succumbing to his injuries. So I'm really disappointed to see that. I love that Gungan, even though we only saw him in like 2 frames. But I really loved him and I wanted to see more of him, so that's pretty sad. After the memorial had been constructed, Sabe remarked that the fallen soldiers that they had just laid to rest were in attendance at the funeral of Padme Amidala on Naboo. Although Vader was clearly more powerful than everybody in his crew combined, his emotions clouded his leadership and commanding abilities, leading the firm-headed Sabe to take control of the mission temporarily. Sabe continued to recount the events that took place after the death of Padme and her funeral on Naboo. At the time, she was not fully convinced by the official story that was being reported by the Empire about her death. They had travelled to Coruscant immediately after the funeral proceedings on Naboo and broken into the quarters of Padme. She had obtained the security recordings from the quarters but was unable to decrypt the footage from the cameras. Finally, she added that the archived recordings were stored on Naboo. You can imagine how Vader felt after he heard that. This sent a rush of emotion and memory back to Vader from his wedding to Padme and their time on the planet. Within his mind, he convinced himself that he was not afraid to return to the planet where he had spent a copious amount of time with his secret wife, but externally he knew he was not ready to revisit those painful memories. And that is where the story ends. Vader and Sabe are in transit to Naboo, where she hopes to decrypt the archived security recordings from Padme's quarters and discover the truth behind her death. Vader will be forced to confront the painful memories that remained on Naboo as he transitioned from Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader. He will have to face the reality of his wife's death and either reconcile his actions or block out any sorrow and continue on his dark path. So based on where this is placed within the timeline, just after Empire Strikes Back and his encounter with Luke, you can pretty much imagine what happens and which path he chooses. Obviously though, we don't know the pain and suffering and even regret that he might feel in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I really love this issue of the Darth Vader comic. It's definitely showing a huge amount of potential going into the future. I think we'll definitely see some footage from Revenge of the Sith as the two confer in her quarters while the Jedi Temple was burning. That was the last true moment they spent together as Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, before his descent into Darth Vader. I'll also be releasing a dub of the Darth Vader 2020 comic issue 2 number 2, which will obviously be a follow-up to the first Darth Vader comic which I brought to life on the channel. If you haven't seen that one, be sure to check that out as it's a really emotional rollercoaster, experienced through the frame of some incredible voice actors, so definitely go check that out. As for a release date, you can probably expect that within the next week or 2 weeks maximum, but I'm really hoping to get it out as soon as possible for you guys, so you get to hear a beautiful dub of Darth Vader's journey after his encounter with Luke. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed my recap of the Darth Vader 2020 comic. Remember to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and definitely leave a comment down below telling me where you think the next phase of the story will take us. So, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys.